no matter what your age, nothing in the world can stop you from being what you are, from realizing your dreams, from going out there and doing exactly what you want to do.
So, how do you see this paradox of aging beauty and timeless sexiness?
Today, girls at 30 feel that they're old and finished. Girls of 15 and 16 are made to feel insecure that, oh my God, dressing young in order to attract more attention is a bit ridiculous, and people can see through a certain desperation.
For 50 years, for someone to be as relevant as they were when they first started off is like insane. You still defy age and you define sexiness.
Oops. Sexiness. Well, that word I don't know at all.
Shobha, welcome to Beauty Banter.
Thank you.
Before we start, I want to say that I've always been a big fan of yours, and I'm still a big fan of yours, and I absolutely love you.
Now, if you're going to go into declarations of that kind, I'll just keep saying, Ditto, Queenie, Ditto. I'm a great fan of yours too, which is also a fact. I've known you since you were a model. I've seen you grow. I've seen you evolve. I've seen you grow into something spectacular, all on your own terms, on your own steam. I admire women who are self-made, confident, because it sends out a very strong message to other women that you can do it too. Of course, not all of them have your natural advantages. They're not as beautiful, not as accomplished, not
you.
as brainy.
Thank you, Shobha. I remember the first time that I saw you. I was doing a show at the President or at the Taj Hotel, and you made a comment that who is this this girl with the broad jawline?
Yes.
I still remember that.
Yes.
Or you wrote about it or you commented.
Yes.
And I was so petrified of you. If I see you anywhere, I duck.
I probably said, who's this Delhi girl with the broad jawline?
Yeah,
yes.
You're right.
Yeah.
Who's this Delhi girl?
Sorry. But, yeah.
The idea of this podcast is to let women know who are watching this that what it's like to age and find ways to love yourself in a world that's designed to make you hate yourself. In fact, thrives and profits on it. So you still defy age and you define sexiness. So how do you see this paradox of aging beauty and timeless sexiness shaping the modern narrative?
Oops.
And you know that's...
Oops. Sexiness. Well, that word I don't know at all. I don't ever associate it with myself. About all the other things, I own my age. At whichever age, no matter how I looked, how gawky, how completely not groomed at all, not confident, diffident, awkward, but I owned it all, and I continue to own it at 76. Because to put women into the cage of age, at whichever age, the world can be very cruel, and is very cruel. And it is an ageist world. Women are judged. Today, girls at 30 feel that they're old and finished and life is khatam for them. Girls of 15 and 16 are made to feel insecure that, oh my God, have you imagined yourself at 22? I mean, do you know what you're going to be looking like at 22? Whereas the time in which I grew up, I can't say the world was less cruel, but there was overall a sense of aspiration and hope. There were things to look forward to. And age was not something that one sort of jumped up and down saying, I can't wait to grow old. But it wasn't something that shameful. There was a sense of also respect for women of a certain vintage because people valued their experience maybe or what they'd lived through or their stories. So age has never been something I was afraid of or I ran away from or tried to disguise in any way, because I feel it's a strong message one must send out to women that no matter what your age, nothing in the world can stop you from being what you are, from realizing your dreams, from going out there and doing exactly what you want to do, and the hell with what people think about oh, how can she be doing this at 50? Or, oh my God, at 60, what is she even thinking? And at 70, why aren't you home, lady, just sitting there and looking after your grandkids or minding your own business? No, we define our age. At least that's what I would like to communicate. Through all my work, which involves women, through all my books, that has been the strongest message. Just be yourself, happy in your own skin.
On my way here, I was talking about the different hats we don. And then you are yourself in those different spaces. Like you can be like today I'm a mother of a 3-year-old and a mother of a 27-year-old. And so with the environment of a 3-year-old, I don't want to be that much older.
Yes.
You know, and for instance, you can be wearing sexy clothes in a very glamorous party or a glamorous environment, but you can't be wearing sexy clothes in if you're meeting your son's friends or in an office, for instance. Now you can turn around and say, you know what, I should be who I am. But at the same time, sometimes it's just better to be a little more appropriate if that's who you are also, an appropriate person.
Yes.
And so I think age also kind of relates to it, at least in the world that I live, where I feel that I don't want to be older in this environment. And I don't care about being older in this environment. So I'd rather not just talk about my age.
Wow, now that's a perspective that I've not had to deal with. Also because the idea of an extra edge being given to appearing sexy or hot or glamorous has never preoccupied me. And because being a writer, I have never been obsessive about any of those aspects, which is different from people who choose different vocations. For the vocation that you are in, for the persona that you represent to the world, it's almost obligatory for you to present yourself in a certain manner in public.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. It has to be age appropriate. It shouldn't be anything that embarrasses either yourself or your family members. Just because I want to be myself, so hey, guess what? I'm going to turn up wearing something completely ludicrous.
Yeah.
The whole thing about when people make fun of lambs masquerading or whatever that turn of phrase is, when you dress meat as lamb or lamb as meat or whatever it is, dressing young in order to attract more attention. In any case, that attempt is a bit ridiculous, and people can see through a certain desperation. It's just so much easier to say, hey, this is how I am, this is how I look, and for this occasion, this is how I choose to dress. And the more you put on camouflages of different kind or disguises to appear to be someone else, the more the stress and strain show. But like you said, now that as a mother of a 3-year-old, in another 2 years' time, you will be going to school and class and attending parent-teacher meetings.
Yeah, with younglings.
With younglings,
yeah.
Which can be terrifying.
Terrifying.
So I remember going when my last one, I had Anandita when I was 41 years old. So my older children were much older. So I'd been to their PTA meetings all along, and then along comes Anandita, and I start going to her PTA meetings at ripe old age of 45, 46, when everyone around me is in their 20s.
Right.
Yeah, but it actually didn't bother me. But like
because
I
you were
said,
still in your 40s. The 40s is still not bothering you that much.
yeah, I guess so.
But in your 50s,
yeah,
and you have a 3-year-old, that's when it little bit, makes you feel a little bit older. I mean, it depends how you're looking again. You don't have to let your hair grow gray and say that, I am older, because they can turn around and say, are you the grandmother?
Well, if they do,
no, my child will get embarrassed. No, that's my mother.
let us say it, I guess, with pride, grey hair or otherwise.
Yeah.
I don't know. I still feel age should not be something that we give that much importance to. You've chosen to have a child at your age. In today's day and age, it's not that unusual.
It's not.
It's not. We
It's
have
not.
blended families. We have families of all kinds.
Yeah.
We have much older parents, for example.
Yeah.
And the recent example of Musawala's mother at 58 giving birth to a child through IVF is a story which is heroic. I mean, here is a lady, the family has faced such an enormous tragedy losing their son, who was an icon. And she decides to have another child at 58 and bear the child herself.
That's
It
unbelievable.
is a fantastic
Yeah,
story.
it
And a
is.
healthy baby boy was
Yeah.
delivered just last week. So I think the old rules are no longer relevant. Even in schools, people are much more progressive. They are much more accepting. They don't view older mothers as freaks of some kind. Or as museum pieces or something. It's much more chilled out, much more relaxed. Children themselves are much more relaxed with each other. They're less judgmental.
They are.
Yeah.
But I remember my son, to just to put this note in it, I remember must have been 29 or something when I was fetching him from West Wind. And he said, Mom, you were one of the oldest mothers there. I mean, really. Now,
Yeah.
this is what the children are thinking.
Yeah.
So
But that was also some time ago.
yeah, that was some
was some
time
time
ago.
ago.
He's now.
I just remember my children giving me specific instructions coming to collect them that do not make your bathroom bun. I always used to tie my hair up in a top knot, which I still do. Do not wear those huge big shades of yours. Do not wear those khadi kurta pajamas of yours. I mean, just come looking like a proper mother. I still don't know what they meant by come looking like a proper mother. But yes, they're in schools like that, South Mumbai schools.
Little did they know what
yeah.
Shobha Day is. Look, I mean, how she walks in and what impression she makes.
Oh, they still don't
And
care. Thank God for that.
The kids never care.
They never care. Yeah.
They never care. How would you define today, you look back, how would you define a beautiful woman?
I think a beautiful woman is a woman who exudes a certain sense of joy and acceptance about herself. A very tense woman, a very vain woman, an exaggeratedly self-conscious woman, someone who's obsessive about, is everyone in the room looking at me woman, would put me off right away. But a chilled out, relaxed woman with all her fault lines, her crow's feet, her bits and bobs here and there, a less than perfect body, but exuding a certain confidence and just happiness. I think happiness is a great cosmetic and a great smile which goes with that happiness, which is a genuine smile. A woman who radiates positivity and holds herself well is poised and elegant in her speech and manner would be a very attractive woman to me.
And has that perception of beauty changed along the way?
Not
Did you always think that?
I always thought that. For example, even as we are talking, I was trying to think when I was much younger, and we had all these great Hollywood movie stars, more than the Bollywood movie stars back then, which we used to look at all the film magazines and look at these ladies. Who did I admire the most in those days? Who may not be a classic beauty, but for me was the epitome of all that is graceful and gorgeous and elegant and poised and confident was Audrey Hepburn. She had it all. She had class, she had bearing, she had everything, the way she spoke. And Ingrid Bergman and Marilyn Monroe for a totally different set of reasons. But I mean, she still
Legend.
remains who she is. She was luscious and childlike and curious and not at all self-aware. It's not possible that Marilyn Monroe didn't know the impact she would have if she walked into a room and the whole world would stop to look at her. But when she walked in and she spoke to any one person, it was that person she was talking to. And that person felt like $1,000,000 and 10 feet tall. I think that's again a quality, to engage with someone. A person who is so self-absorbed and narcissistic is boring. At the end of it all, you just want to get away, say, okay, honey, get over yourself.
Really. When I met President Clinton so many years ago when he was president,
Yeah.
I remember the way he spoke to me.
Yeah.
It was only about me.
Yeah.
And this whole world was trying to touch him.
Yeah.
And he was only talking to me. And I said, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like he is so just involved in who I am and what his conversation with me is, that it made him so attractive.
Yeah. Completely right.
And he was President Clinton.
Yeah, absolutely right. Same quality Obama had. Same quality a lot of great leaders of the world. They possess it. Maybe it's a technique, but it's a technique a lot more of us should then learn.
Adopt. Yeah.
Definitely, because you must give that kind of respect to the person you're talking to. If you're going to be that sort of Delhi wala, sorry to keep bringing in Delhi walas and Mumbai walas, but a Delhi wala rarely makes eye contact with a person because they're so busy looking over your shoulder as to see if someone far more important is going to walk up, in which case they don't want to waste even that eye contact on you. So that's dreadful. I think it just shows a lack of respect and courtesy.
Right.
So yes, it's a good quality to engage only with the person you are engaging with
Right.
at that moment. Even if it's for 2 seconds,
Even if
let that
it's
person feel good.
Yeah. Being a daughter of a judge and a homemaker, you turned out to be someone who talks about sex and lust and takes a head-on with political bigwigs. So what was your childhood like? I mean, who was the force behind you?
The Force. I don't know. I think it sounds like a Star Wars script, but the Force was within me. It's not that I grew up emulating anyone. I admired my parents a lot, my homemaker mother in particular, more than I even admired my father, who was a bureaucrat and a legal advisor to even the Atomic Energy Commission after his retirement. He was a highly respected, revered man of integrity and principles, but he was a distant, autocratic father. Of course, I admired him. But for my mother to be completely herself, this tiny little Maharashtrian lady, so herself, so confident, she didn't care. She would go with my father, accompany him to the grandest of functions, to the Raj Bhavan, to the Rashtrapati Bhavan, to various, very, very, very VVIPs and people from society, business, movie stars would be present. And I think she had maybe 3 good silk saris and maybe 2 sets of very simple gold jewelry. But she'd feel like a queen and walk in like a queen and behave like a queen. It's not that she spoke the best and most fluent English, not at all. But she was so confident, just being who she was. And my father was so proud of her. And so were we all. I mean, we loved her just for that. I think confidence comes from that level of self-knowing, that you're not influenced or not impacted by how much someone else has in terms of monetary wealth, or a better dressed woman in a room, or someone carrying a great handbag or dripping jewelry. That's not confidence. That's a cosmetic kind of a facade. It doesn't give you confidence. In fact, the more you throw on yourself, the more insecure you are a lot of the times. So my mother was definitely a role model. I miss her every single day of my life. My father, I did take on at a very early age, at age 14 or 15, when it was his nature to be autocratic. But then it was my nature to rebel, and rebel I did. So it sort of was uneasy for a few years, and we made our peace. And when he passed, I think I was the closest to him from my siblings, and someone he respected. He may not have understood my books entirely, but he did tell me one thing when my first book came out, and I was being, mercilessly trashed for the use of sex and lust and the use of the 4-letter word, like you mentioned, the first Asian woman to use it in print and so on. And the reviews were really harsh. And he said to me, I used to always give my first copy of my book to my parents and touch their feet and ask for their blessings. And he said to me, remember, it's your book, be proud of it, and I'm proud of you. If he had not said that to me, And he must have faced a lot of flack as a bureaucrat. I'm sure there were people in his office who'd come up and say, Rajadhyaksha, sir, हे तुमच्या मुलीने काय लिहिलंय कसलं पुस्तक. I'm sure he heard it. I know my husband has heard it 1,000 times as a business person in the early years, that your wife is so out there, she's outrageous, she speaks
Says what
Samaj,
she
she says what
wants.
she wants. There's so much sex in her books, etc., etc. And I used to wonder, what are they talking about? So much sex, as if there is a quota for sex. That so much is okay. Okay, 25 pages, fine. 50 pages, oh my God. 100 pages, oh my God, this woman should be jailed. It's kind of stupid, you know. We were living in some very antiquated era where a woman writing about female pleasure was considered taboo, without people understanding or realizing or knowing that some of the most erotic poetry in India came out centuries ago. Telugu poets were writing erotic poetry, women. Back then, we have the Kama Sutra, we have people like Kamla Das, we have a tradition of very sensual erotic writing. So it's just that I put it in a modern context, that's about it. And it sort of reached a mass level because of the popularity of the books. But at no point was I apologetic about any of it. I mean, those are my books.
But
Take it or leave it.
where did it come from? Like, where did this writing about, sex and where did it come from? Was it a topic that you felt needed to be out there, or you felt that something in your life made you do it, or it's just
No, what you said earlier, it was a topic that had been brushed under the carpet for too long. It was a topic no one wished to address. It was a topic that was almost banned for a woman to even acknowledge that she has any desire. Was not encouraged, because it was a very puritanical, hypocritical society. Not that people were not having sex, it's just that no one wanted to talk about it in polite company.
Right.
But then I grew up in a liberal atmosphere. I had taken English literature, I had the best teachers and psychology in college. And I grew up reading D.H. Lawrence, and I grew up reading some of the best writers across the world who were writing about sexuality and pleasure in a way that I found absolutely inspiring. And I saw no reason on earth why that should be something that was not accessible to me or to readers. And so I just went ahead and I wrote my truth. And that's what good writing should be all about. You write your truth and take what comes with it, which I did.
Right.
I didn't
And
then
you
go
need to
running and ask for
need to-
protection, you know.
You
I
need
faced
to
it.
still keep writing that, because the world still needs to keep reading it, because the society cannot just say that, look, she's looking like a hooker, look what she's wearing. I'm just saying
But they
that.
still say that.
They still say that.
So the double
And-
standards exist
I
across
mean,
the board.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say this in a podcast, but imagine a woman being able to say that she masturbates.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, now a lot of podcasts are dedicated to various forms of
they?
masturbation,
Okay.
so you're doing fine. Just go ahead. Yes. Female pleasure itself is very threatening to society at large,
Yeah.
not just in India. Anywhere in the world, a woman who expresses herself sexually is considered wanton or borderline, almost a maniac, nympho. It's a term so loosely used. So-and-so is a nympho, so-and-so is a slut.
Yeah.
No one ever categorizes men.
Men.
They can run around to whatever they want, but then
Exactly.
they're called studs with a sense of admiration.
True. So, at a time when political parties are blatantly buying out media platforms, how did you so successfully manage to have such a strong voice of opinion? And you continue to do that.
It has a lot to do with building up credibility over span of 53 years. I've been writing in the public domain without an interruption for 53 years. That's 5 decades of writing. So you can't just wish me away and say, I wish this woman would go away, because I ain't going nowhere. And political parties are pretty shrewd, cunning and savvy, as you know. So media houses are bought, yes, of course. Public opinion is more or less bought. But the citizen's voice cannot be suppressed, cannot, because today anybody can be a citizen journalist, and they are. If you got Twitter, you got so many ways to express political opinions. So in my case, I think it's understood that there's no point in messing with me. A, because I'm not politically aligned. No one pays my bills. I have not lobbied for any party. I'm not obligated to any party. I have not asked any political anyone to give me a petrol pump to run or give me land somewhere at a subsidized rate or asked for any favors. I've turned down Rajya Sabha nominations. I've turned down opportunities to even contest elections. I stand for something, and I don't think any political party, no matter how powerful, is going to try and block me. Of course, maybe I've spoken too soon, but so far I've gotten away with it. Let's put it that way.
How did you never think of joining politics?
I don't have the stomach for it. It's a dirty, filthy business. I've known it from the inside out. I've monitored it. I've covered elections. I know how the game works, and I'm not up for something like that. I also feel being outside the political system as an independent commentator, you are far more effective. And no one can say, oh, she's compromised because, oh, she's speaking for this party or that party, or they're paying her to be their nominee in the Rajya Sabha. So she is going to be speaking up. There's no such thing as an independent voice once you join politics. That's a given. Even if you stand as an independent candidate,
Right.
you're not really independent.
Right. So a little bit about the beautiful Shobha Day.
It's beautiful.
How do you reconcile with beauty, your personal beauty routines, with all the pressures of the societal norms?
By ignoring societal norms, I guess. That's my greatest and biggest beauty trick. I have, like I said, I don't fear aging, which is a big plus. And I value just regular habits. Like, I think an underrated beauty hack would be sleep, though now it's getting a lot of prominence these days. There are a lot of articles about getting a good night's sleep.
Right. On beauty, on stress, on everything.
Yes, on everything. It has an impact on your skin, your hair, your temperament, your mood, your digestion, everything. But other than that, there are no great beauty secrets or great beauty routines. I wish I could claim. I don't. In fact, my daughter, I was having lunch with her today, and she said, Mom, it's so. And she said, you've never used sunblock. She asked me, have you ever used sunblock? So I said, no, I have never used sunblock. She said, how can you, we've just come back from a holiday together at Phuket, where the sun is so harsh if you're on the beach. How can you not use sunblock? I said, I don't know. I don't know if my skin would have been much different had I used sunblock. It probably would have. She said, how can you not use night cream? I said, well, should I start now? I said, I'll ask Queenie to give me hers. So,
you know, I don't know whether I'll edit this part or not, because we really promote sunblock. And to
no,
have a skin like yours,
oops,
and who's not using sunblock, I mean,
oh gosh.
But that's genetically blessed, because I don't see any pigmentation on you.
Yeah.
That's a genetically strong skin.
It
that
is.
is even like shunning the sun. You know?
You can't take credit for something that is in your genes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whether it was my father or my mother, close to 80, and my father in his late 90s. My brother, when he passed away, it sounds so terrible. My sisters and I, we are looking at him, and we're actually saying, my God, how beautiful he looks. Look at his skin. Look at his skin. And he'd been so sick. I mean, poor guy had suffered. But we were marveling over his quality of his skin. I mean, it sounds morbid, but it wasn't. It was paying a tribute to the family genes and saying, God help us, at least aur kuch nahi to skin to hai.
So, coming back to Shobha Day, many perceive you as an icon in Indian society. In what ways do you think you've most challenged the status quo?
The word icon is kind of, it makes me blush a bit or cringe a bit, because the minute you start believing you're an icon, you aren't one. You never talk about yourself.
But you are an icon.
No, I don't think so at all. I've just, I feel more like Frank Sinatra or Elvis Presley or someone. I've just lived life on my own terms, done things my own way, and spoken my mind. It's nothing that heroic. It's not as if I've discovered penicillin or something, then that makes you, to my mind, people who save lives, who create a breakthrough in science that helps millions of people. They are iconic. Through my words, I hope that I have touched a few lives, maybe inspired particularly women
Right.
to feel better about themselves, to
Right.
not feel bound by society's very unfair rules, and to break through molds and dream and fly. But that's about it. That's about as far as I take the icon thing seriously. I admire sports stars, for example, people who excel. I admire great artists like Hussain Saab, or great musicians. I mean, there I think, oh my God, when you watch someone like even our Zubin Mehta or Zakir Hussain, any of them, you watch them and you say, these are creatures God has created specially for the world to admire and look
Yeah.
up to. We are just speaking for myself, nothing.
No, I mean, I would say that these people, Zubin Mehta,
Extraordinary.
and they're extraordinary, of course, but they probably look at you and admire you for the way you've written and held your own and spoken, the truth, like you say.
Yeah.
And not been bound down by any pressures.
Yeah.
So they probably look at you, the same people that you look at. It's true.
That's a lovely way to see it. Oh, that's really a lovely way to see it. Nice perspective. I won't let that go to my head. I'll just go back smiling and say Queenie was being kind and generous and lovely as always.
So Shobha, you were one of the first, actually you were the first person who introduced the concept of running in my life, because I remember you were quitting running the marathon. And you wrote me a letter or you wrote me a message, and I don't remember which it was, but saying that I've chosen you to take over what I was supporting.
Yeah.
And this is the charity I support, and I want you to run this time because I am not running anymore.
Yeah.
And you told me how to do it, and you said write letters to everybody and try to raise, this was in 2008.
What a memory. Wow. Yeah.
2008 January. So it was pre that. And so I did the discipline of training for the marathon.
Yeah.
And that came from you. I could never think that I could run a marathon.
How
Even there was-
fabulous.
yeah.
I'm so happy to read that.
I
Hear
was,
that.
yeah, I was,
Lovely.
in fact, I wrote a letter to Amitabh Bachchan
Yeah.
saying that you asked me to do it, say that I've
Yeah.
done this. And he sent me
A check.
a check.
Yeah. Lovely.
So it was quite...
It was very worthwhile. But then my knees protested and I said,
Yeah.
forget it. I just couldn't after that.
but it was a great
Yeah.
experience for me
Yeah.
as well. So coming back to the writer Shobha Day, you've always written your book starting with S.
Mm.
Where does that come from? Is it just Shobha starting with S too?
I'm not entirely sure because I'm not sure. I like the way S looks. I find it sensuous and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
My name I've never liked, so it can't be from my name. But the magazines that I started with, which became super successful, Stardust and Society, both started with S.
S. Wow.
And I think Nari Hira put that kida into my head that S is lucky for you. And he said it's been lucky for the magazines, and I think you should stick to S. So maybe somewhere that stuck. And I like the sound of Sir. It's a nice sound. For books also, I liked it. I've kind of broken through that now. So Insatiable is not with an S and it's done great. So maybe that whole dependency on S is finally over. But even the word superstition starts with an S.
Yeah.
So,
That's nice.
yeah.
So in the book Sultry Days in 2005, you wrote, the men are neatly divided into the can-dos and can't-dos, and then the third category, gone-dos.
Oh no, I've forgotten I'd written that. Oh
And
gosh, yes, how accurate.
who were the Gandus? I mean, what? How do you?
Oh, the world
How
is
do you
full of them.
define Gandus?
It's such an awful word, actually. It's horrible. I'm now blushing at the thought that I wrote it so many years ago, but it's completely accurate. They are the deceptive ones. They are the tricksters. They are the ones who are out to, in a way, screw you in a in a nasty form, or they're just such idiots that they think they're getting the better of you. So a lot of them overestimate themselves. It's better for a guy to think, okay, this is something I can't do. Then, of course, the can-dos who never said they can't do anything.
Yeah.
But the other category with a G are the guys who think they can do it all, but actually are flops at everything they attempt. And they think they're so oversmart. Upar se. In politics, is full of them. So,
And 20 years later,
yes,
you still think they exist, the Gandus?
100%. The world is infested. Infested.
More so?
More so because they're getting away with much more
Yeah.
now. And people don't know the difference. I mean, if you go to a restaurant like, I guess I can just say it, Bastion, up front or up there or on top or wherever Bastion is, which is
Yeah.
an incredible success story, you'll meet the whole restaurant is full of them. And I keep wondering, where have these people crawled in from? Infested.
Oh gosh.
Throwing money around, throwing names around, talking big, designer clothes, flashy, 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 can't string a sentence together in any language. Even if they spoke beautiful Marathi, Gujarati, Punjabi, Hindi, kuch to, achhi tarah baat karo. But they talk big, abusive, there. Oh,
In one of
awful.
your books, you've also written that there is peace or contentment in mediocrity.
Yes.
That was also written, I think, 2009 or
Yeah.
so. Now,
I think you can sit in your little complacent little pool and convince yourself you're the best and you're at peace and you're amazing, because mediocrity is a certain comfort zone. A lot of people, majority of people are in that zone without even knowing it. And no one is going to come up to you and say, people will come up to you now, especially young, and to each other and say, hey, you're a complete loser. No one ever comes up and says, hey, you know how mediocre you are? No one does, right?
but
I've never
nobody
heard
wants
saying.
to be mediocre anymore.
Well, everyone thinks they're excellent, right? So
Yeah.
there's a battle to be.
I mean, if you ask the young people what you don't want to be, they say mediocre. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how
The worst insult.
non-comfortable it
Yeah.
is for the younger generation. And of course, I mean, I don't know what exactly how the word is defined or the definition of the word, because whether it means that it's simple living or it means
No.
that you're just a
No.
ordinary.
No.
Tell
No.
us the meaning.
No. Not for me. It's not that. To be truly simple is to be evolved. To be ordinary and at peace with who you are in your ordinariness is also to be wise. But to be mediocre is to not even know that your skills, your talents are so limited, but in your head, you are something incredible and amazing. Like, to give you an example, you could be a really poor, mediocre script writer.
Mm-hmm.
You write a script for a movie and you think it's an award-winning script because you're delusional. You don't know you're that mediocre that it's not going to stand the test of anything. But in your head, you lack the intelligence to step outside of yourself and see yourself for what and who you are and say, okay, I need to be better than this.
Yeah.
It should be something that is a trigger that you say, I want to be excellent. I want to be good. I want to be as good as the best in the business. When you don't realize that there are other people far better than you are and why are they better than you, that's when you succumb to your own mediocrity because you don't even recognize excellence in another human being. That's the worst aspect of mediocrity.
Fantastic definition. Actually, it's amazing, Shobha, that you have been for, you say, 50 years, being relevant. For 50 years, for someone to be as relevant as they were when they first started off is like insane. It doesn't exist.
It does.
It doesn't.
I
It
promise
exists
you.
in you. Who?
No,
Tell
no.
me one person. I mean, I would say, I with respect to Dr. Dinian, who I work very closely with, he is also relevant today. But I don't see people who are relevant. They try hard. They try to reinvent. They fall on their face, but just to be so easily relevant.
I
with
can name
ease.
one, Aram se, and
Amitabh
you'll
Bachchan.
recognize, of course, and he's a hardcore professional.
Yeah.
And he doesn't try too hard. He's Amitabh Bachchan.
Yeah.
But with that comes discipline, with that comes extraordinary hard work. He's the first guy on the set. He's the last guy to leave. He comes there knowing his lines. When he's in front of the camera, he performs. He is meticulous. He wants to give it his best shot, shot after shot after shot. He's also been in the movies for 50 years.
Yeah.
That's called professionalism and relevance combined. In my sphere, I would say Khushwant Singh in his 90s was as relevant. His voice was as young and playful and provocative as when he started as a young writer. And he was the one who invented that wonderful phrase called, there's no condom for the pen. So why should I even
Restrict.
bother about,
Yeah.
why should I restrict? There's no
Yeah.
condom that's been invented to cap my pen. So there are people like that whose minds are always sparking. But even whether it's a Khushwant or an Amitabh Bachchan in his now 80 plus, they are there because they are good at what they do. And they don't just walk away from years of glory saying, they're not complacent. They're still trying to better their last performance.
Compete with themselves.
Yes, the last performance is your last performance.
Yeah.
And if you can't top it, bye-bye, it's all over.
Yeah.
So similarly for me, every single column I write, every book I write is my first one, and I'm saying, I'm in the last book, okay, it's done great, but what can I do to surprise myself? Or I'll get bored. I won't have the motivation
Yeah.
to keep at it if I'm bored. Obviously, the reader is going to get bored. Why should I inflict my boredom on a reader who's going to pay for the book?
Yeah,
So
that's
that's my-
amazing.
yeah.
You know, you could relate to all all segments of age. I mean, every age you could relate to because you've seen it, and you still are cool, so cool. I mean, I don't know if your kids tell you that, but
Catch
I
them
think,
telling me that.
I
Never.
think you are so cool in your
Thank you.
thinking, your mindset, your talk, your opinions, your perceptions. I think you're a very cool person.
Yes. I'm going to eat out on that one. Queenie thinks I'm cool. I'll go and tell my children that.
They'll say, "Big deal, mom."
Yeah, probably.
So I'll just end off with a quick, rapid set of rapid questions. Guilty pleasure, book genre.
You want me to say pornography or
Of
what?
course.
Okay, pornography. But well written, erotic. Like, I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right. She's not a pornographic writer. She writes erotic novellas which have inspired me greatly. I recommend them to every person, man and woman. Little Birds in particular. It's Anaisnin, a French writer. You pronounce it, my darling. You deal with the French more than I do. Anaisnin.
I don't know, but
Anaisnin, whatever. Her,
Okay.
yes.
Lovely.
Guilty pleasure, yeah.
Topic you wish you had written about more.
Children. I did one children's book. I think it was a lousy book. I didn't invest myself enough in it, maybe. Or it's just not a skill set I possess, writing for children. You have to become a child to write for a child. I couldn't do it.
I'm sure you could do it now.
Maybe.
Morning routine, yoga or meditation?
Neither. I can't wait to have my first cup of chai and toast. Someone did free me of that pressure of meditation by telling me, मैडम आपके लिए ये है ही नहीं, meditation आप भूल जाइए, आपसे होगा ही नहीं. So I was quite depressed. I was in Kerala thinking I'm going to emerge with a mind that's calm and everything's going
Evolved
to
in the
change.
the third eye.
No, he told me, he said, no, because you're a karma yogi. आपका काम ही आपका meditation है. So forget about sitting in quietly, looking at a candle and waiting for things to happen. You just keep working, that's your meditation. So now whenever anyone asks me that, I say, I'm a karma yogi. Like, I don't say I'm a liver.
Fantastic.
I don't say I'm a liver. Yeah.
City life or countryside
City,
escape?
city. I love chaos. I love madness. I love the unexpected. And country life is way too quiet and too dull and too boring. And there's just so much of bird song that I can entertain myself with.
Secret weapon for confidence?
For confidence. Truth.
Beautiful.
Yeah, speak your truth.
Social media, love it or hate it?
Made my peace with it. I enjoy it. I mean, you can't be living under a rock and pretending social media doesn't impact you. You don't want to be a part of it. This is today's world. I'm happy to be a part of it. I don't succumb to it. I don't let it... you have to be on top of social media, not social media on top of you. Then you're okay.
Yeah. To accept age or fight age?
Accept.
Most outrageous fashion trend you ever rocked? I can think of so many.
You can rock anything, my dear. With
No, I can think of so many that you have rocked. But I leave it to you to answer that.
I don't know. I think maybe in the 70s when we were all going through the hippies and that look. And I remember the iconic Air India calendars that I featured on with those bouffants which are like 10 feet on your, not 10 feet, but at least 10 inches on top of your head. And the very lined eyes, the coal lined eyes. It was relevant at that time, looked great at that time. It's coming back in now. Yeah, I would think that. And jumpsuits back in the 70s with polka dots. Fun.
Lovely. Favorite character you've ever written?
First book, the character of Karuna, because the first book, as they say, is always self-revelatory. You always, but always, a novelist cannibalizes his or her own life. So in many ways, Karuna is me, a chaste, puritanical, good girl, middle class version, which is indeed scratch the surface, and that's the girl you'll find. So Karuna.
Lovely. Early morning writing or late night inspiration?
Not early morning, not late night. I write like a professional person, employed, self-employed, or I think of myself as working for someone, whoever this someone is some
So 9
beast.
to 5?
Pretty much. As soon as Mr. Day leaves, or even if he doesn't, not at 5. It can go from 9 to 7:30 to 8. But by dinner time, it's finished. That's it. It's a full working day.
Your biggest inspiration for writing?
People. They are my oxygen. I'm listening, watching. I'm a voyeur.
Observing.
All the time, yes. Observing everything without even attempting to, but everything is registering, which can sometimes be an overload on the mind. But people are absolute. There's only because no two people can ever be the same. Everyone is so unique, and every single person on earth, even the ones with the G word, have a story to tell. They all have a story. If you're interested in listening to that story, we are all storytellers. We are born storytellers. We all have a book in us. Some of us choose to write a book. Some of us live our books. But we all have books in us.
Wow. Okay, what advice would you give a 20-year-old Shobha?
To be even crazier. Maybe at 20, I was listening a little too much. I was living with my parents, so there were things I didn't do because I didn't want to offend them. I would have taken far bigger risks. I would have cared even less than I did then for things that held me back on certain fronts. I would have just,
I would have loved to meet
Yes.
that 20-year-old Shobha Day.
yeah, I guess looking back, I was not too bad. Yeah, not too bad.
Yes, you're fabulous, I'm sure, and you're still fabulous.
Thank
You know that.
पता नहीं, but आप कह रहे हैं तो how can I challenge it?
It's true. It's true. Thank you so much
Thank
for being
you.
here
That was
on
great.
Beauty Banter. I loved it. I
I loved
loved
it.
chatting with you. I didn't even feel that I was on a podcast. It was just brilliant.
We weren't. We were just sitting and chatting, as
Chatting.
old friends
Yeah.
and true friends.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
My
So
pleasure.
grateful and appreciated.